Hey, what's up? Welcome to Space Couch. We will see if this page loads properly. Ah, so good. So good. How have you been? I've been great. I've been space great. And you know, just doing the thing. Um, Out here in the vastness of the void. Uh, let's get right into our sponsor. We have two this week. It's a Space Time First. We will have, of course, Tiger Squawk Digital and Tiger Squawk Records, Monomer and Esh coming out soon. The new Bitman full length is the shit. The new single from Ireland, Sugar Plum Suicide, Serpentine, it's so good. Cosmic Dread currently burning up at drive2rpg.com from Mr. Zoth and the Were Spiders. Liquidation EP from Cedar Hill Furniture from Victoria, BC. The Gothicals in Roanoke, Virginia next week. Check that out. Now, also, this episode is sponsored by Massachusetts' own Freakishly Chic. Carol just cut my hair. We flew her up into the space station from Massachusetts. And if you like what you see, and I know you do, check her out at instagram.com/freakishlychic. She's looking for clients. Tell them Space Couch sent you. Oh, Juno, come here. Come here, Juno. Come here. Oh, Space Dog's eating. She's not going to be on this episode. Come on. Come over here. Come here. Ladies and gentlemen, Space Dog. Come here. I didn't mean to yell in your ear. I got excited. That's on me. I'm sorry, girl. I got too worked up over Space Dog. You know what else has got me worked up is this week's guest, superstar of the East Coast, Massachusetts and East Coast, which I said already, scene, DJ extraordinaire, producer of prodigious music. We're gonna get into it because man, I want to know. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, DJ Addambombb. We can see you on the screen now, sir. What is up, buddy?
Hello, thank you for having me out here, Brian.
Not a problem.
I'm amazed. I've been enjoying my time in the Space Lounge with my very happy cup of coffee.
Oh, fantastic! Well, I will take a space sip of my own space coffee. And
the accommodations here are lovely.
Well, it costs gwillions of dollars to bring guests into space.
And that. And oh my God, over there.
Yes, all things that are off screen that cannot be seen with the servo robots and all that. How are you, sir?
I'm doing really, really well. As I said, I'm excited to be up here in space with you, my friend. And my gosh, it feels like, well, we've all had kind of a lot going on these days. I'm still so excited about the Tiger Squawk compilation. I know you just mentioned Tiger Squawk there. And I went, oh yes, that was so cool. What an epic battle compilation that is. I mean, that's like 36 tracks.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's out now. Tiger Squawk records.bandcamp.com versus Black Pill, Red Pill. Our mutual buddy Kyle from Angel Spit is on that. Bad Witch.
Yeah, I know. He recruited me on his side.
Yes. Well,
who won? Nobody won.
No,
everybody
well, I mean, if it's this dark side, light side thing, then it kind of ends with I don't know, us making out and then one of us turning into a Force ghost. But Bad Witch featured on that. Very good. Check that out. Let's get into the big news. Skeleton Closet. The Skeleton Closet. Oh, is out now and it's on vinyl. That is exciting.
Special order, baby.
Oh, okay. That is pretty.
So
I have it digitally. The vinyl would make a great selection or addition, I should say, to anyone's collection. Let's get into this. Tell me about this album, High Level.
Okay, where should we begin? We begin?
You've been working on this for a minute, yeah?
Yeah, this is one of those long process sort of things. Okay, so I guess if we're gonna go way on back to it, some of the songs on here I started writing 20 some years ago,
Get
25 years
out,
ago.
really?
Um,
And you just have that audio, or is it were they like has you did you redo it like iteration after iteration?
in my mind.
Oh, in your mind. Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of this stuff, okay, so I would say a big influence, Leonard Cohen, right?
Totally.
Fantastic, amazing author, amazing writer. And one of the interviews he said that sometimes it takes him years to write a song because sometimes he'll like get the inkling for a song, he'll start working on the ideas, and maybe it comes with a little bit of a melody, but it's
Hmm.
the story isn't done yet. He hasn't experienced enough of the story yet to finish the song,
Oh, fascinating.
or or he spends time just sort of chewing on the words to find just the right way to express it so that the words fall the way that they need to fall, and that it says what it needs to say, and it says, um, and that's how it's been with this record. Like a lot of it has come as bits and pieces. Like, you know what it's like on the road, Brian,
Hmm.
and you get on the road and you've just got hours and hours of gray ribbon, and it's like being in a trance, and when you're falling asleep and you hear music in
Yeah.
your head, um and that's how a lot of this kind of ended up getting written, is just putting so many miles under my wheels,
Oh, wow.
and that's where I've rehearsed it all too. It's just for years and years. It's like I'll be driving along and you just get sick of whatever's on the
Uh-huh.
radio. You get sick of flicking channels. You get sick of listening to static. You get sick of everything that you've ever listened to because you've listened
Yes.
to it so many times. And um, your desert island top 10 only gets you through about the first 2 weeks, man.
There you go. Love it. Well,
and uh,
because it
and
lived
then
in
you
your
start to like make shit up in your head.
yeah.
And
No,
so,
that's true.
um,
It's a very
yeah.
good description of the process.
And well, and in this case, it's all very personal stuff. Like all the words in this come from my own experiences, and like some of it's like straight out from like this got said and that got said, and a lot of it is just sort of processing the real stories of my life over time, but
Really.
learning the lessons by repeating the same mistakes over and over. And
Yeah.
and like some of it has come like really really quickly and really intensely, and some of it has just sat there. Like um uh one of my uh one of my favorites on there, Never the First Time Twice. That's probably one of the oldest lyrics on there, and that I started writing that with a band in 1992.
Damn.
And it's 92 or 93, yeah, around 92 or so. And that had kind of started like I had the chorus and the bridge for that, and I just always thought that they were really really strong. And one of the other members of the band had written a verse for it that I was never really that happy with, and I had tried to interject on it. It was one of those bands that was together for a short time. We
Right.
almost did nothing and fell apart.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we'll get into that, but that's a big part of why I just did this all on my own.
Mm.
But so that particular song that's been like bouncing around in my head for a long time with no verse.
Hmm.
And then when I sat down to write the album, like um If Ever I Would was very, very strong in my mind. Like that's one that I've sang a million times in the car kind of thing, and had very strong ideas for in my mind. And then when I finished writing that song, it just kind of spilled over into like I hadn't planned on working on Never the First Time Twice. And it just spilled over, and I found a piece of a poem that I had written a few years ago, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? The ideas in this poem are really perfect for this, and I, just kind of found the melody in there, pretty inspired by orchestral maneuvers in the dark on that one. I really wanted to have that like John Hughes soundtrack kind of sound. So I'm looking for the next John Hughes, by the way. If you are the next John Hughes and you want to use my music in your soundtrack, well, Cusac's still around, right?
Drop those Home Alone samples.
Oh, hey.
There's the shot. There's the cover of the. So this, because this lived in your noggin for a million years, did it come out like you hoped, like you conceived of it?
None of it is like how it started, man.
Yeah.
And all of it is better than I could have imagined.
Hey-o.
Like I'm not I'm not a fucking musician, man. I'm not. I started off as a drummer, and I got into broadcast production and mixing bands live, and got interested in the whole production aspect of things, and through DJing, it was kind of one of those natural progressions. I started monkeying around with Reason. It was actually Ian Ford there in New York gave me my first copy. I love you, Ian. Love for Ian. And he gave me my first copy of Reason back at 2.5, and I started. Yeah, and that and Digital Performer. If you ever messed with Digital Performer, Digital Performer. Oh, God. But I did start remixing on that stuff. Like I did the remix for Psyche Corporation with that junk, and I did the first one that I did for Carl. Actually, you just mentioned. I did the 80s from Hades remix where I sampled out all the 80s stuff, all the video game sounds and shit. That was cool.
Cool, man. Well,
that was a fun one. It was a fun one.
Well, with all this talk of Beta Virus is in the chat room and says, "God, I hate Digital Performer."
You know the pain. You know the pain. Okay, so you know that when Reason got more advanced. I mean, it's so advanced now. I'm actually still using version 7, which is I mean, now they're on what, like 10 or 11 or something. So it's a lot more advanced than what I'm producing with. I just have a really old fucking laptop, and so it doesn't run anything new. And so Reason 7 is such an incredibly powerful workstation. Once they added all that SSL console stuff and all the integrating the waveform handling and all that, I mean, that's when it really took off for me. But to go back to it, Brian, the process of writing this album, I feel like in a lot of ways I had to wait for the technology to catch up.
Oh yeah.
So that I could do this all myself. Like, the frustration of playing in bands is that everybody wants to put their dick stamp on the fucking song. And sometimes you just have to write the song. Like, when I first started playing the drums, like I was practically a noob and just had some, I mean, I just got lucky. I didn't have a teacher or anything. I just got lucky and had some rhythm, and I ended up playing with some guys that were so much better than me. And they really pushed me, and they like forced me. I practiced and I prayed till my fucking hands bleed, and
oh God.
And because of that, like, I got to work with these guys, these really talented cats. And so that sense of songwriting, that I learned from working with these really talented musicians. But the frustration of not, it's like, when you're working with somebody else who's a band leader, they want to work on their shit.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing in a band situation, no matter how collaborative it is,
mm-hmm.
If you have a solo idea, I mean, not every band is the Beatles, and
right.
That didn't even work out. So,
it's kind of industrial music in a nutshell for a lot of people. Like, I get to control all these machines.
Yeah, we're kind of loners, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, this is my studio. Hi, welcome. I sleep right next to this.
Yeah.
There's this much space between that desk and my mattress.
I hear you. I hear you. Physically and spiritually, if you like. What's up to Huarang Rules in the Twitch chat room? What video game is that from? Soul Calibur? Speaking of all this music, let's take a listen to 2 tracks off the album. This will be Could It Be? A little sample of that into a little sample of The Fine Line. Dre from Scilab, big supporter of the show, is in the chat room and says, "Preach." So let's take a listen to.
Suddenly,
you won't be able to hear
you
this, Adam,
appear, saying the things that I've been dying to hear
it's
for
got,
so long.
For the techno
What am I trying to convince myself of? Could it be, could it be, could it be that there's such a thing? Could it be, could it be, could it be worth believing?
No, we could.
Could it be, could it be, could it be that there's such a thing? I know you.
Now it's at the Fine.
No, I don't even know you. I wanna tear you apart. I wanna find out what it is makes you weak. I wanna know what makes you scream. I wanna know what makes you cry out.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, you start from a base. It's a sample. You just need like a visual sound. There you go. I think that's awesome. Oh no, that's fine.
We're like chatting off camera here.
Right? Yeah. Well, shit, like every action movie from the '80s, where like the politician goes, "I hate the people," and then they cut back to the thing, but it went out. You know. We just heard.
Grab them by
We just heard Could It Be in The Fine Line. So you have crafted, honed, magically willed into being some amazing remixes, and we'll get into that in a second. But I want to stick on the Skeleton Closet for just a tick, because the album has a much more gothier kind of. The thing is like swung musically, like if you think of like the DuckTales theme or something like that, and it's
the DuckTales theme is a Tom Petty song.
Is it really?
Yeah, like Running Down a Dream.
Oh my God, I didn't think of that. So, but there's a little. It's not the full techno fury. I mean, it's very danceable, like you just heard with Could It Be, but there's a little bit of like a jazzy, I want to say, sort of overtone to it.
I like jazzy. I like jazzy. I like funky beats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely. All right. So, like, to compare and contrast, like, you know, when I do the remixing and stuff, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I think my remixing's all over the place too. Like, you know, the stuff that I do with a bass like Angel Spit or Hardcore Pong is different than what I did with like Mayo Hara, whereas, you know, much, you know, which I would say is a very jazzy mix, and it's, you know, an unusual time signature.
Right.
And you know, that one's really cool. That was really cool. And you know, when I'm doing all the bootlegging and stuff, you know, most of that stuff, like when I'm doing the remixing, you know, you're taking something that already exists, right? And, you know, usually what I'm doing is you know, mostly working from the acapellas, working from just the vocals and creating a new song of it. But, you know, I'm trying to keep the song of it. Right. You know, I'm just trying to translate it into a different medium, right? I'm trying to give it a different sound, and I'm really trying to give it a very different sound from what it originally is. Skeleton Closet was something I was willing into being out of my own imagination from the get-go. Like, everything on the Skeleton Closet started off as vocal melodies. So the way that I approached working on the skeleton closet, so this is kind of crazy. Like I went to my mom's place where I have a bunch of boxes that are labeled words on paper. And because like I'm forever doing like I'll take like the back of a flyer. Oh, that's
Yeah.
the wicked part. Hey, wicked
Ah,
part.
well done, sir.
And I'll write stuff on the back of flyers. I mean, I've got a pile of them over here. And I just I'll just write maybe sometimes it's a couplet, sometimes it's a poem, sometimes it's a few lines or just even a few ideas. And so when I decided, I was like, you know what, it's time. I had quit my day. I want to call it a day job, but it was much more than a day job. It was the most insane job. But I quit my insane job after doing that for a few years, and I said, I've been basically helping everybody else make their records for the last few years, working for Guitar Center, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's time. I'm gonna make my own. I felt like at that point, I feel like at this point, I should say, I have learned enough that I could write these songs and at least do them some kind of justice. And so my mom was going to Europe for a couple of weeks and needed me to house sit and take care of the cat. So I went out there and I went through boxes and I set up a microphone and I started yelling some melodies at it as I could remember them. And then I brought it all home and I changed everything.
Sure.
And I treated it all as if I was just remixing myself, and I would find pieces and write in pieces and change pieces to make it work with what I was trying to do. And of course, I mean, I know what it's like to go through the recording and writing process. It was basically all I did for 6 months. I didn't see any of the summer. I really didn't. I was just writing in this little tiny space here,
Well,
yelling at my microphone.
People should definitely go to addambomb.bandcamp.com, among other places, unless you want to direct people to other places.
Yeah, actually, I even have the shortcut there. If you just go to DJAddambombb.com and you spell it right, ADDAMBOMBB, that will take you directly to the Bandcamp.
So check that out. We have some breaking news in the chat room. Superstar Aethra of Fires says, amazing. I used to attend Haven in Northampton way back in the day. Addambomb was my introduction to industrial and goth, so it's his fault that I got into this thing. Blame DJ Addambomb. So
there you go. Can you see that on the screen all right there? It's upside down. But
that's pretty dope. Like, big ups to Fires. Check out that album.
Yeah, we're not going to spend too much time talking about Haven, but it's a club night that I well ran from 01 to 08 in Northampton, Massachusetts, and we had a golden age there during that time and had some really truly amazing parties. Like we threw a party on 666 that was utterly epic. We had Cruise Shadows play our Halloween parties. We had we had Rasputina play. We had Raised in Black, Bella Morte. We had all kinds of great bands come through there and made a lot of good friends. It was really a terrific night. And, it's kind of one of those things that was extra special because, I mean, Northampton's not exactly, I mean, it's kind of the middle of nowhere. It's a college town but we're like 100 miles from everything, but everything is 100 miles from us. Right. And so people would come for that 100 miles. So, it was really a great little hub for New England scene. And of course, we booked a lot of the DJs from Boston, and Ian would come up from New York, and we had the Connecticut Cats all coming up, and Albany, and we really had this great great party, and it was some really great years there, and that's all we're gonna say about that.
Cool, man.
Yeah, because otherwise it just breaks down into fucking club drama and nobody.
Yeah, I hear that.
To me, it's all like 13 years ago. So
Well,
it was great.
I hear that, and double thanks to Fires for setting me up with such a great segue.
Well,
I wanna ask a little bit about the origins of the mighty DJ Addambomb and how you got into
oh,
DJing. Like we were talking a little bit before the show. Uh, my introduction to you was at the Black Sun festivals because you
oh
were
yeah.
DJing those, and I was like, "Who's this fucking handsome motherfucker with 3% body fat walking around?" And that then
3%.
is that too high? The and then of course you sort of came into my orbit again on the 2015 tour with Angel Spit, and you showed us around Salem and stuff,
It,
and that was great. And now that I live out here and in space, but terrestrially every now and then in the great city of Boston, I
where
get to see it.
all the best astronauts live.
Where all the best astronauts live. I get to see a bit more
Except for the
often.
other ones that don't live there, that live in California.
Well, same thing. What's the difference? The
MIT, California, yeah, whatever.
how did you get into the whole DJing thing?
Well, I mentioned before that I started off as a drummer, really. I played in rock and roll bands with the big hair.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, fabulous hair.
Fabulous.
And then I got into broadcast production. And I took a few courses, and then when I landed in Boston, I was looking for work, and there was an ad in the paper that was like a DJ's wanted ad, and said, well, I could do that. And so I answered the ad. And now you gotta picture this, Brian, is like
Yeah.
at the time I got like black hair down to my nipples with like the Dave Vanian blonde streak in the front, right?
Yeah.
And 20 hole docks up to my knees. And I show up, Island Electric shirt with big red arms, and I show up for my job interview looking like, like I just walked off a stage from playing in Foxing, and yeah, right, and and then I went back for a second interview, and so like what I found out later was like the operations manager was like, I love this guy, I love his energy, I want to give him a shot. And the sales manager was like, how the hell am I going to sell that to a wedding client, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so they gave me the shot, and I kicked it off, and I started doing it, and I took to it like a fish takes to water. And
You started in weddings then.
yeah.
That's
I've been doing
amazing.
weddings for like well over 20 years, man.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's what this was. It's it was a mobile DJ agency. It was a Premier Talent Group, which was at the time the biggest one in New England. We had over 50 DJs. And yeah, that was pretty intense. So in that I worked for them for 5 years, from 95 to 2000. I did over 1,000 events for them.
Wow.
Yeah. I did 270 events in 1 year.
Get out. Superstar.
I was DJ of the year that year, baby.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a number of crazy experiences. Even in that first few years, 1,000 gigs is a fucking lot.
That's a lot. That's an unfathomable amount. Are you kidding?
And that's just the first 5 years, Brian.
Dude, machine.
I went independent in 2000 and started subcontracting and that kind of stuff. So I've worked for a bunch of agencies, and I've worked for some of the biggest in the country. I worked for Scratch for a while. So I've done a lot like my professional career has been quite storied on its own. And then, you know, the club side of things, like the goth club thing, man,
Hmm.
like that's, you know, it's very different from a professional career. You know,
Hmm.
it's a whole different, like, you know, when you're playing weddings and stuff, you know, there's definitely that aspect of, like, you know, uptown funk and celebration. And I love all. See, the thing is, man, is I just love all kinds of music.
Hmm.
So, like, even if you know, you go to my SoundCloud and you listen to, like, what's there, it's like, you know, a bunch of stuff that I bootleg for Halloween, and like these crazy industrial and goth remixes. You
Yeah.
know, it's like these two wildly
Yeah.
almost incompatible sides. Except that, you know, one of the great things is that, you know, surprise, goths get married too, like,
Ah,
you know,
yeah. I'm
freaks
doing it.
and queers and all that. Like, queers, we can get married in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And so, you know, you know, independently, that was what I've specialized in, is weddings for fucking oddments, you know what I mean, like,
Hmm.
for these, whatever it is, you know. And for people who like the, you know, the regular agency
Hmm.
DJ isn't
Right.
like. And so, you know, so this is kind of funny because, like, back then I had this gig that I did at like this, it was like a Euro disco club in Rhode Island, right?
Hmm.
And uh oh yeah. And then so but, you know, I was going to the goth clubs, like, you know,
Right.
like I went to Man Ray, like, you know, when I was a teenager, I went to like Limelight. They used to do communion in the Giga room there. I used to have a communion card in my wallet, man. I wasn't even old
Nice.
enough to go into the damn place, but I wasn't telling them that. And
Damn it.
yeah, yeah, well, it was a good time, man. And yeah, and, like, you know, the Pyramid and Ritz and all those. But yeah, up in Massachusetts, you know, it was Man Ray. Um, and so long and short is that I used to make, you know, I'm like one of those cats, like, I make a lot of things. I'm an
Hmm.
artist. I
Yeah.
do a lot. Um, I was making chainmail jewelry at the time. I did some silver
Of
work too,
course
but I
you
was
were. Guy's a machine.
making. I get bored easily.
Yeah, I
Uh,
hear that, dude.
and so I was making chainmail, and I was selling it at, you know, a number of the boutiques around Cambridge and Salem there. And I was in Hubba Hubba one day. And the owner, Susan, who's no longer with us, and the manager at the time, Christina, well, Christina was like, "Oh, you should show this to Coos Rock, who runs Hell Nights at Man Ray, and talk to him about vending." And so I did.
Hmm.
And so I started vending at Hell Nights. And then I was there early one night, just kind of hanging out, helping out. And the lighting director called out sick.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Oh crap, we have nobody to run lights in the front room tonight." And I was like, "I run lights."
Nice.
And yeah, so yeah, so basically they like, they, you know, they opened the door on the DJ booth there, and they point at this. I mean, this thing was crazy
Okay.
looking, man. It was crazy looking, and they're like, "Can you run that?" And I was like, "Yep."
Just, I'll get
And
into this Robotech mech and figure it
I
out.
went in, and like the 20 minutes before the club's about to open, I start pushing all the buttons to see what they all do.
Damn.
Then the DJ comes on, and I just start pushing all the buttons in rhythm. And
Nice.
they loved it, and they were like, "Oh, this is great," and so they put me on the payroll.
Nice.
and and then a few months later, I was doing a Wednesday night, and I was and DJ Lady Bathory was playing, and she was doing
And this
80s.
is in Massachusetts or what?
This is at Man Ray.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is how I got to yeah. Which story are we on, Adam?
No, well, I don't. Man Ray is. I don't know. I don't know. Is that a city?
Man Ray was the club,
Man
baby,
Ray's the club in that's in like Somerville or something.
in Cambridge.
In Cambridge. Okay.
All right, so Shit, yeah, okay. I really take the history for granted sometimes, and I apologize.
Not a problem. I just want to, like, for the listeners and stuff. I don't know.
So yeah, I get you. I get you. We should do a little bit of backstory. And at this point, it's such an ADD story that nobody's ever going to be able to catch up to where we were. But Man Ray was the center of alternative culture in the heart of Central Square there. And so when you go over for the Ex Mortis parties, Brian,
Yeah.
Ex Mortis started at Man Ray.
Okay.
Ex Mortis started when Hell ended at Man Ray.
Oh, okay.
And Man Ray used to be kitty corner there to the Middle East on the other corner from Green Street there. So to give you a little idea, you walk right by where it used to be, only now it's a condo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all in the hip happening part of what you might think of as the Boston area.
Yeah, Central Square, Cambridge. Yeah.
So you're running lights, and then you get into DJing, and you become the king of Halloween.
Yeah. Well, that kind of, because I was already a DJ when the opportunity came up. So the story was that at Man Ray, Lady Bathory turns to me one night and she's like, "You're a DJ, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Do you have your music with you?" And I say, "Yeah, out in the car." And she says, "Well, I feel like getting drunk tonight. Do you want to DJ?" And I said, "Sure." And I started DJing, and like people were like, so it had this like smoky glass windows that you couldn't really see through, and the DJ you could see out, but you couldn't really see in. And people were like pressed up against the glass. They're like, "That's not Lady Bathory in there." And then DJ Mothra came in at one point and was like, "Huh, you want to come spin at ceremony?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And like Chris Ewan even came down from downstairs, and he was like, "I keep hearing about this DJ downstairs. I didn't know it was you." And then I started playing at Man Ray. I'd fill in whenever anybody needed me, and playing around the other clubs. And I stayed on the payroll there until they closed.
Cool, man.
And yeah, and and like I said, so it's always been like this two sides, where it's like, DJing the goth clubs, running the goth club, the King of Halloween thing, that's a lot of that comes from doing the Salem parties. I do Salem every year for the official Salem Witches Halloween ball. There you go.
Very cool.
Oh, that's a hell of a party, dude.
So let's
lasers.
Let's plug that real quick. Is that still going on?
Oh yeah, every year we're going to be on Halloween night for 2020.
That's in Salem, Massachusetts.
At the Hawthorne, the Grand Ballroom of the Hawthorne. We take it over. Oh my gosh, that party is amazing.
All right.
And when it falls on Halloween, it's extra amazing because we actually we take up more space in the hotel so that we can have a higher legal head count.
There you go. So
we sell out every year.
If you can get in, be sure to check out the Salem Halloween party. I want to be sure to get in Wicked Party. Speaking of hell of a party.
Wicked Party.
Tell us about Wicked Party.
Okay, well now that is a whole nother facet there, because what we're doing there is electro swing.
Okay.
And usually the next thing people say is, "Well, what is electro swing?" So go ahead, say it.
What is electro swing?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Brian. Electro swing is exactly what it sounds like.
Tell me more.
It's jazz music that is mixed with hip hop, house, and electronic beats.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's real cool. So, so we do this party every month. It's now on the third Sundays at Zuzu, which is part of the Middle East complex. So our door is right there on Mass Ave in Central Square. And it's the coolest little speakeasy on the block. And we have our groovy little party. And so that's very different from like the goth nights kind of thing. Obviously a whole different genre, like a whole different approach, really. And so we very much get down on the turntables.
Woohoo!
we get down on the turntables, cutting and scratching and sampledelia and electro swing and funky beats and funky beats and funky beats.
Funky beats.
Yeah, and it's quite diverse. We're kind of like I don't really know how else to explain it except that we incorporate stuff from kind of all over the place, which is pretty much what sampledelia is.
Wow. So is it like a lot of live like turntable stuff going on?
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. We do a lot of stuff obviously scratching is one part of it. But adding, we take pieces of music and make other music out of it.
That's real cool, man.
And yeah, so sometimes like Joe DJ Loki, my partner, he'll be mixing a couple of tracks together and running like the bass lines off of one track and the hi-hats off of another track, and he has all that cut down, and then I'm playing an acapella on top of that, but I'm cutting it up a bit on the turntable.
That sounds amazing. And that's
yeah, and we kind of do that all night, and it's like we play songs, but we do all this other stuff kind of in between them, and
very cool, very cool.
And it's quite creative.
When does that go down?
Third Sundays. So the next one comes up on the 16th.
Check it out. Well, let's forward to this. Is that venue closing?
The Middle East. So it is up for sale.
Oh, okay.
This is one of those things like, needless to say that it's something to be concerned about,
Right.
The venue's up for sale. That venue is very central to a lot of the stuff that we do in our scene. Ex Mortis is there, Heroes is at Sonia, which is part of that complex.
That's not where Wicked Party takes place, though, right?
Wicked Party is on the other corner.
It's on the other corner. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. It's on the Mass Ave side.
Okay.
And that's Zuzu is also part of the Middle East. And so the asking price on that is very, very high. And there are an awful lot of factors involved. The Cambridge Cultural Council is supposedly involved somehow. From what I understand, the Sater brothers who own the place, they are the reason that they priced it very high is because they want somebody who really wants to do that. So if I had a wish that could come true, if I could make a wish, I'm gonna make a wish
right now.
I'm gonna say, my wish would be that Don Holland, who was the owner of Man Ray, but he didn't own the property, he owned the business, which is why it closed, because the property sold out from under him. My wish would be that Don Holland would magically, be able to acquire the Middle East and perhaps even rename the downstairs Man Ray.
Hey, Man Ray.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be amazing. The simple fact is, though, man, that stuff happens at a level that none of us can touch. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody who's got 40 million bucks laying around,
just chilling. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know anything about it. So
yeah. If you do have $40 million hanging around and you would like to buy a very cool club complex, I will help you run it.
Yeah, we'll make that a. Well, this is being broadcast from space, so we do cater to a lot of international space barons and stuff like that can afford the production of importing shows from black holes and stuff. So.
Magrathé has been closed for an awfully long time. So.
There you go.
I'm not sure if the galactic economy can handle that kind of.
We'll figure it out.
All right. So what else?
I wanted to ask you about if for the Skeleton Closet or remixing at a higher level, if 3 to 4 of your influences were classic movie monsters,
Mm.
who might each one be?
Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Dracula.
Okay, but like who would they be? Like, is one David Bowie or
Oh,
something like that?
oh, wait. I
Like
thought you
like
said one.
emotionally, like take 3 of your musical influences and
Oh,
transpose them onto classic movie monsters.
oh, I misunderstood
No,
the
I didn't
question.
phrase it well.
So
I'm sorry about that.
I have to imagine who would be who in
Yeah, yeah.
that sort of situation. Well, I mean, uh, gosh, god damn it, move on.
All right, I'll put you. That's. We'll come back to it.
I don't know why I keep thinking of Joan Jett being the creature from the Black Lagoon.
That's
Though I
amazing, though.
do
I
love
love
rock
it.
and roll.
You know, she loves rocky streams and do you want to touch me on my gills? What's that?
And Rocky Road.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Weird Al in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was Weird Al Dracula. That would be a
That would be
pretty awesome
amazing.
Dracula, right?
uh,
Like
the
everybody out there that actually likes movies is really hating us right now. They're like, "Did you just cast Weird Al as fucking Dracula,
no, are
man.
you kidding me? That'd be like
Done with this. Like,
that'd be the best Dracula of
thumbs
all
down,
time.
thumbs down.
Uh, what music they make, the creatures of the night, and then he busts out an accordion, like it'd be perfect.
I mean, I try to reach for that, you know. I look for a little night on Bald Mountain in everything I do.
Perfect. You crushed that answer. The describe Boston.
Describe Boston. Let me see. I wrote something for that one actually, and I'm gonna read it exactly the
Oh,
way I wrote
perfect.
it because otherwise I won't do it right. I said, it's small, it's cold, it's mostly clean except when it isn't. The weather is harsh, the people are harsh, the traffic sucks, and if you don't like it, go somewhere else. We fucking love it.
Oh, they should put that on the license plate. That's perfect.
A little long for a license plate, but
We'll
it'll
figure it
make
out.
a great bumper sticker.
There you go. It's the shirt. That's the new Wicked Smart that they can sell at
Right.
every store ever.
Yeah.
Q point.
Hey, let's talk about the record some more.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, that's great. It's a great record.
We really ran away. We really ran away from that. But I feel like, since you were just asking me about musical influences again,
We'll bring it back.
I was trying to decide if Ella Fitzgerald could be the Bride of Frankenstein, and then I was thinking about when you were saying that the record was really jazzy.
Yeah.
And that's actually she's one of those big influences on there, right? Like Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, Duke Ellington. I love all that Cole Porter songbook stuff. Like I like going to jazz nights. I love seeing the freestyle jazz, and a big part of that is that micro timing, right? The feel. Like when Ella sings, man, I weep, man. I get goosebumps. Awesome. I weep. And there's, it's that, and a lot in electronic music, right? A lot of it's, like dance music, it's very quantized, and it's very rigid. And like when you're like, oh, it's swung, like that's really very intentional. Like, it's not humans. There's no human playing on the record at all. It is entirely sequenced. I didn't even use a controller, like a keyboard controller. I did it all like click, 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 click,
Right.
click, drag, click, 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 click. It's crazy. It's piano roll. And I was really trying to get feel into the record, and I try to get feel into the remixes. I try to get feel into the record. I do like trying to find that, like Ella Fitzgerald is amazing because she finds these notes between notes, right? Notes between notes, right? Like we have scales, and we're used to like our whole and half step, major minor kind of thing, right? But when you listen to Ella Fitzgerald, right, she like does these slides and things, and she finds these notes that are the microtones, these notes in between the notes. And like Sinatra, I think especially, like he does this with rhythm, right? With the way that he drops his words. It's like try singing along with Sinatra sometime, man. It's not easy.
Okay.
And like it's like you really have to know the song to know where his nuance is, and even then you're going to miss it most of the time. Finding those notes between notes, like, dude, one of the things that drove me so crazy working on this record is on If Ever I Would, right? In the chorus of that, right? So it's if ever you wanted me, I would. That note is not in a half or a whole step. I had to bend every single instance of that note on every instrument. It is halfway between half steps. It's a quarter of a step. It drove me.
That sounds like torture.
I was like, it's got to be in key with something. I must have tried transposing a track is a miserable experience anyway. And I must have tried. Oh gosh, man, I was kind of like, well, maybe this weird Greek mode, maybe that weird. That has worked in a few of the tracks. Like a few of the tracks are in these kind of weird Greek modes, and but that one just drove me absolutely crazy. And finally, it was one of those things I was like having nightmares about it. And finally, I was like, well, what would I do if I was, just playing a bass guitar? I was like, I'd bend the note. Duh.
You raise an interesting point. The Skeleton Closet, available now at addambomb.bandcamp.com. In addition to being an amazing DJ and chain mailer and everything, you can hold a note, man. Did it take a while to come into the vocal shoes you wanted to be in, or was that always your style? Because it's so different from what I do, which is just like Squawk or Suicide Commando it.
Suicide Commando. Is that code for distortion?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I mean that's what I do with a couple of projects and just distort the shit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. So like, singing fucking terror. The sound I had to get the hell over it.
Sure.
To do this record. So like, all right, so like going out and singing karaoke, like I'll cut you a mean ass white wedding, all right?
Okay.
But like, but getting up in front of people and singing is truly a terrifying thing for me. But not nearly as terrifying as recording my own voice. And so that entire process is like, dude, I'm like shaking a little bit thinking.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is that I did, you're like, did it take a long time to come into your voice? It took me 25 years to come to. I had to find my voice. I always wanted to do this. Like, this is years and years and years of singing in the car and refining and trying to find my voice and trying to find where my natural ability is and trying to expand that and trying to, and so much of it is like just trying to listen to myself and first of all, not fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And second of all, trying to find where, it's like, like, okay, so like there are a lot of things that I can't do vocally. Like I don't have a high voice, right? Singing my own harmonies on some of this shit. Like, dude, when I did the harmonies for Never the First Time Twice, I sang those harmonies. I did it in about maybe 10 minutes and then I couldn't talk for like 3 days.
Damn. Yeah, I hear that.
It's so high, and I mean for me it's so high, but like like for everybody else it's like normal.
Might you ever perform that? I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if we would ever get the Skeleton Closet performed as a in air quotes band.
Yeah, okay. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is I think that there's a lot of ways that that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my vision of the Skeleton Closet, I like. Okay, so I wrote it as an electronic music album because that's the tools that I have to work with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like
Totally.
the medium that I work in is electronic music. I play robots. I play the
Yeah. Oh
robots. I'm
yeah.
not a musician. I don't play guitar. I don't play piano. I did play the drums. I'm a
Mhm.
DJ.
Mhm.
I'm not without some musical skills or rhythmic ability or whatever, but I am fundamentally not a musical performer, like a performing musician. I'm not a musician. I don't play
Oh
an
yeah.
instrument.
I hear that.
Okay. And that said, um, I hear this shit in my head and I have to get it out some way. And so I made this album as an electronic music record. But like, you played the clip from Could It Be earlier. That is a fucking glam rock, like Gary Glitter all the way out fucking glam rock song, right?
Right.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun,
Totally.
dun, 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 right. It's meant to be like, it was meant to, I mean, it's a guitar sounding synthesizer. It sounds like a guitar. I made the synth that sounds like a guitar because I want it to be chunky and staccato
Mm-hmm.
and heavy in that way. And I mean, I don't know if I would call it heavy, but
Mm-hmm.
it is,
No, it's
but
got
chunky.
some punch.
It's got some punch. Um, and and like tracks like Fine Line or Crushed, right, which are really quite jazzy and a lot lighter, and the piano aspect of it and like the more stringed instruments sort of sound. um that stuff has to be dynamic, right, and
Mm-hmm.
it has to be very flexible, and a lot of electronic music is not. It's very quantized, and so trying to find that and find those qualities, but give it that good grounding, a very solid. I mean, I think this record is most of it's dance music.
Mm-hmm.
There's the jazz influence, right? That Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, finding that, like finding the unusual
Yeah.
keys, the unusual notes, and the unusual rhythms, but it's also I mean, it's such a Depeche Mode Information Society, like retro synth pop.
Totally.
And I call it retro wave now, right? But like, it's so inspired by the new romantic records, the Duran Duran, the orchestral maneuvers in the dark, like the lyrics on this stuff. It's like those are the poets that I'm inspired by. You know
Good
what I mean?
stuff. Yeah.
Those were the songs that resonated with me and sort of stuck with me, and they can't help but influence.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like there are little moments where I'm like, oh wow, that really sounds like Depeche Mode right there,
Mm.
or like, you know, um, some of the comparisons, like syntax error was said at one point. It was kind of like if you took Sisters of Mercy and Covenant and but that's another, those are both influences in
Mm.
there. Is like, that like Patricia Morris and bassline is like indelible, right? Um and Covenant, Volsheim, the A-pop, that sort of synth pop revival from the
Wow.
2000s there, that I mean, let's face it, that stuff breathed life back into our scene at that point when
That's true.
the death rock sort of thing. It was kind of like, well, I mean, the new generation was maybe a little tired
Yeah.
of guitars or something, you know what I mean? And now they're, now I feel like, it's one of those things where, okay, so to completely sidebar again, like this last couple of years for
Yeah.
our scene, has been awesome.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
hear that.
Awesome music. There are so many great artists out there, and oh, guys, keep doing this. It's like, I just feel like we are in an absolute renaissance
I hear
in
that.
dark culture right now,
That's
and
what's up.
like, the last time this happened, right, it almost bubbled up into pop music. You know, like I heard Once in a Lifetime by Wolfsheim on Long Island radio one day
Nice.
when I was out there driving around. And I was like, holy crap, this is actually like, I mean, like a pop alternative station, right? It was like basically, you know, the FNX of Long Island. FNX being the defunct alternative station that used to be here in Boston, right? It was, if you were going to hear Nine Inch Nails, it was going to be on FNX, right? And like, you know, and even then, like Nine Inch Nails came out of, that Chicago Wax Tracks network, you know, connection in the, you know, Canada. And,
Totally.
And that whole thing, you know, and Nine Inch Nails kind of emerged by writing essentially pop structured music. You know, it's not, I mean, you know, now we look back at it as pop music. At the time, it was revolutionary to pop music. But if you knew industrial music and Gothic music, you knew where it came from.
Yes.
And it was like, wow, this is like pop structured dark music. And, so I think this has been a really good time in our scene, because I think a lot of the music has been looking for that pop sensibility. Like I'm hearing more melody and more songwriting, where, I mean, in contrast, I'm not slagging any bands here. I love this all. I love it all. So when I say a band name, the reason I'm saying the band name is because I love you. All right. In harsh contrast to Combi Christ, right, which was sampled, samples and very stiff, hard, quantized industrial beats and distortion, right? I'm hearing more like, okay, like Interface, right? You know, we were saying before, the Not With Me, the single, right? I just did a remix for Interface, right? Plug the remix. On the Not With Me thing. So the album version of that track is fucking awesome. Like when he sent me the preview for that, I was like, dude, this track number 4 right here, Not With Me, absolute club hit. I'm going to be playing this all winter, man. I gave it to Chris Ewan to play at Ex Mortis that night. I was like, dude,
it's great.
A great track.
Really
and
good.
Here's the thing: is it's got all that. It's got that stomp. It's got that aggression to it. It's got, there's processing on the vocals. It's not like there's not distortion on the vocals. It's not like it's not shouted out aggressive anthemic vocals, but it has a really great melody too. And in my case, I take the damn thing apart and I put it into 6/8.
Of course you did.
What am I going to do? Fuck it up as much as I can.
Well, I mean, leave it to the king of Halloween to Frankenstein the shit out of it.
I'm going to fuck that up. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff out there. And actually, okay, so, since we're plugging stuff and talking about new music, mixcloud.com/Addambombb, spell it right, Addambombb.
That's what's up.
I've done a couple of shows on the college radio station out here, WMUA, with Xeno 6, right? It's the local college station goth show, right? We're lucky. We have a goth show on the radio.
So good.
On the actual FM.
Terrestrial radio.
And so we put up a couple of the, I go on the station, I go and I mix live on air, like, and so we put a couple of those mixes up on the Mixcloud there. And, there's definitely some throwbacks in there too, but I play a lot of the new stuff. And
keep it alive, man. You got to do it. Adam, we are on a rogue flight path on this flying cosmic space couch. I'm going to bring her back into the space station.
Okay, so what are we going to do to land this puppy?
We are going to land semi-professionally, because we're going to plug your stuff one more time. You want to check out not only the recently mentioned Mixcloud, but Addambombb.bandcamp.com for the Skeleton Closet. Check out Wicked Party on third Sundays, and on vinyl. It's so shiny, so pretty. Wicked Party. All right. Anything else you want to toss out, sir?
Well, Well, anything else you want to find out, you can pretty much, hit me on Facebook. Just Google me, DJ Addambombb.
All right.
MBB.
This is Brian for Adam for Space Couch. Out. Okay. We're showing ending credits, but they can still hear us for this last little bit. Adam, thank you for the great episode, man.
Oh no, thank you, man. That is the fastest hour. We got to do this again.
You are welcome back on the Cosmic Couch at any